Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the Barloz medium freighter. This is another one of those ships that was really kind of designed for a kind of RPG campaign. Its appearances are kind of coming from the Belted Incursion from the Living Force. That was its first appearance. We have it in a jigsaw portrait of the artist as a young Rhodian from the Living Force. Star Wars Empire at War, Star Wars Empire at War, Forces of Corruption, Alle- Allegiance, and of course in the Allegiance audiobook. So um, that's where we see this. Sources for the write up that we have here are coming from the Last Command source book, Thrawn Trilogy source book. So these are West End Games books right there. Pirates and Privateers, another West End game. This was all made for doing, the novel from Timothy Zahn, as well as bringing it into the Star Wars role playing game. Um, Looking at the picture, there's a couple things we're going to kind of bring up here when we get into it a little bit more. So, what we have is the Belarus medium freighter. Medium, it's a medium stock light freighter or medium freighter, popular during the time of the Galactic Republic. Um, so this was manned by a crew of two with one gunner and up to four passengers. It was armed with a single turret mounted laser cannon. One of the principal strengths of the Belarus class freighter, and if I'm saying it wrong, I mean, I'm as best I can. You guys pronounce it however. It's never easy trying to figure out exactly how the original author had decided to properly name these. But all right, so we're looking at a ship that's 41 meters long, 20 meters high, and capable of storing over 85 metric tons of cargo. The size, coupled with the craft's durability, made it ideal for the craft for cargo shippers and smugglers. Belarus freighters were woefully underarmed. However, a single laser cannon, a single laser cannon fixed in a front firing position was the craft's primary defense. In addition, the Belarus was not a very maneuverable vessel, making its only option to fight in a hasty retreat. Still, the craft had a thick, durable hull capable of resisting a fair amount of damage, allowing the captains and their pilots to uh, exit out of a combat zone relatively unscathed. The Belarus was equipped with a CEC Nova Quad D drive system, the precursor to the engines used in the YT series. Like the YT series, most pilots modified the existing systems and coaxed better performance out of the ship. So, getting into the history, um, manufactured by the Karelian Engineering Corporation, the Belarus class was a no-frills freighter. It contained many of the innovations that would later make its way into the YT series, such a success, but it was phased out when the YT series was introduced. The freighter was one of the more popular vessels to travel the spaceways. The YT 1300 or Grotic of its era, it was considered affordable, sturdy, and spacious. In the latter days of the Old Republic, a medium freighter was the equivalent of a light freighter of the Imperial era. Long since supplanted by the YT series, modified Belarus freighters continue to compete against the descendants in the Outer Rim territories. The Belarus was developed roughly 3 decades before the Karelian Engineering Corporation unveiled the YT series craft. Several of the design innovations touted by the CEC pitchmen were in fact introduced aboard the older Belarus. However, CEC's aggressive marketing campaign for the YT series spelled the end of the vulnerable Belarus. So that's really what we have here on our write up. And then looking at the ship itself, um, so we have a Old Republic ship that's considered a medium freighter, later a light freighter, um, 41 meters long, crew of two, skeleton. You can do this with one, but you get a +5. So it's not that hard to do as a um, single person crew or whatever. Typically, when I'm doing campaigns or whatever, I always like to get a droid or two in there, mainly because for me, if I need that extra person that's not really doing all that much or whatever, typically when you have someone piloting or whatever else, you're doing all this stuff. You have someone else that can kind of take over. A droid will kind of fit that bill. Um, doesn't take up a lot of resources or whatever. You can always store them away. We do have passenger area for 4, cargo of 85 metric tons. We have consumables for up to 2 months. And you're only going to buy this used unless you're really playing in the old Republic era. And then you're going to kind of up the price. But typically, you're going to find it used at 17,500 credits. It does have a slower hyperdrive, being an older ship, so it's at a ×2 with a backup at a ×12. So that's pretty respectable for a backup hyperdrive. It does have a nav computer. As was stated in the write-up, it is not a very maneuverable ship, so we have a 1D here. And being an older ship and a transport, which you're not really looking at doing a lot of dogfighting or trick maneuvers, so it's at a space of 5. Atmospheric flight, if I can speak here correctly, is at 850 kilometers per hour. We have a hull of 4D, so just like the write-up had said, it is a very durable hull. The shields are a little bit more rudimentary at a 1D, but it does have shields. Our sensor packet, we have passive scanning at about 1 kilometer, an active scan at 2.5 kilometers. Our search is at 4 kilometers, and our focus is at 200 meters. So this is where things are going to get a little dicey here. I'm going to read it off that, in the book series, they have one laser cannon stuck firing forward with a fire control of 1D and a damage of 3D. But here they're saying it's on a turret. So as we look up here, I don't know how well you guys can see my mouse or if you're just listening to it. On the very back of the ship, they're showing a laser cannon. In the write-up that we had, it said that it was kind of mounted in the front. So here's some discrepancies. And I'm also going to point out, because I do have some extra pictures and I'll try and get them up here. We have what looks to be laser cannons as turrets actually positioned, and I'm going to kind of laugh at this, but this is done so very often on a lot of other ships. The strut that's jutting out here that it's actually mounted on is actually a airlock. I don't know why we always seem to keep putting cannons on airlocks. Mainly, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's because they're there and it looks like it just needs something. But when you're docking to another ship, that's what those airlock tubes are really for. But we keep putting cannons on them. So this really is a little discrepancy here. And you're going to see it in some of the other ships. So are we going to say that this is really only a single cannon, or this could be a modified picture? Maybe these are no longer airlocks, and maybe they turned it into having 3 turrets. So as we look down here, we have a layout of the ship, and we'll kind of fit this in here somehow. So we have a cockpit with 4 seats, very similar as to what they used for the YT-1300 series. It's all Corellian engineering, so similar parts, similar concepts. Right behind there, we do have our lounge. Again, something that was put into the YT series. We saw that on the Millennium Falcon. So as we come through the lounge, we come back, we have our auto chef here off on our left, and on our right, we have our hygiene bay. So we have our toilets and our shower and our sink and all that stuff. Coming back a little bit more, then we have some passenger seating area with some fold-down bunks, and then we also have our bunk cabin areas for our captain and first officer. Now, once we get beyond this, we get cargo space. We do tee off here for our airlocks and our um, docking ports, if you're going to dock to another ship. Um, so with this being four different cargo bays here, with a hallway in the middle, and then we have a ramp in the back. So I'm going to kind of bring up a couple pictures here. Um, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to, well, I'm trying to look at them as we do this here, and I'll try and get this all the link up, hopefully, and I know I'm not the best at this. I don't do the best at editing. Everyone that watches this will be very agreeing on this, I'm sure. So, we have a couple different ideas as to how this ship is supposed to be laid out here. Um, so I've got one picture where it shows a side view of this landing, and it's only like a single level. They do say that this is some 10 meters tall, but when we're talking about that, I mean you're also looking at your radar dish and everything else, which does take up extra room. And then I've got one picture in here that shows this having um, almost three decks. So hopefully I'll be able to get that in here. Okay, so I open this up for me to look at. So it looks like we have three decks, and it looks like they're using some sort of elevator system to go up and down between the decks. Um, and they have a ramp in the middle, similar as to what they were using on the Millennium Falcon that we never really got to see. But they have like the whole bottom deck as a cargo area with a extra drop down landing or cargo hatch or whatever that can go up for carrying other cargo. Um, you know, really trying to bring this into perspective, there's a lot of different views as to how they think that this should go. Now, the one I'm looking at looks like it was a fan made one. I don't see who had done this. No, wait a minute. Artwork by Frank V. Boers and John Royce. They did theirs. I think they're exaggerating what this ship is, um, because when we look at the other pictures that we have, it's not quite that big. But there again, if it's a modified version of it, and this is where, whenever we're looking at all this stuff, remember some of the stats that we have are just going to be straight, non-modified, off-the-shelf kind of stuff. Once we start modifying it, you can throw credits at it as much as you want to make it whatever you want it to be. And be in a game, whether it's Star Wars or any other, whether, I don't know what everyone plays. I'm going to guess that it's going to be Star Wars, but if you were to take this and try and transfer this into like a Star Trek or a Starfinder or a GURPS or Traveler or whatever you're going to put it into. I always enjoy having kind of blueprints of what the ship looks like and all that. So, it gives us plenty of opportunity to say it could be this or it could be that, or you see somebody else's view of what they think the ship could be, and maybe you just make it into that ship. There's nothing wrong with that. So, just kind of going off on that little tangent. And like I said, I'll try and get some extra pictures in here so you guys can hopefully see what I'm looking at on some of these side ones. It's unfortunately the program I'm using is very basic, and I can't really do that at the same time as showing you. So I'll get this edited in here a little bit, so hopefully you can see. Great idea, great design, good starter ship, and you could take the Down in the Luck smuggler or whatever, where he owes a so and so some money, some credits to, whether it's a HUD or some other loan shark or whatever, and maybe they owe 17 grand for their ship or whatever. Adds adventuring hooks into the whole scheme of things. Maybe they're then asked to do a couple shipments that are going to put them into hot water. So, initially, to me, though, this looks like it's only really one level, kind of going straight back, with everything else going along the spine here for all of our electronics and all the other systems that are needed to run the ship. I don't think this is really going to be a 2 or 3 level ship, but that's my take on it, especially when I look at the initial. Now, this is the blueprints that are in the book, not from somebody else. Looking at this, it makes more sense, but you know, everyone should grab it and run with it how they view it should be. Whether you think I'm right or I'm wrong, you know, I'm not arguing with anyone on any of this stuff because everyone has always got their own view of what they think it should be, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, with that being said, hope you're having a wonderful day. We'll see you in the next.